but who better than me?
Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the end of year awards. Now we're getting down to the good stuff now. It's the last four and I might do some shorts detailing some of the more booby prize type ones, but we're only celebrating greatness here. And this one is the female fighter of the year for 2022. The list itself, it wasn't hard to figure out who should be in it, but in terms of the placement of a couple people, it was a bit tricky. And there's some people I'm not quite happy where I've got them, but it's just due to circumstances and other little bits and pieces. But you'll hear in my breakdown and explanation for each one. So without further ado, let's get into the list. Okay, so as I said, this list wasn't exactly the easiest to do, but we're here. So in number 5, my 5th position for female fighter of the year 2022 goes to Natasha Jonas. Now Natasha's had a hell of a year and she's been probably more active than any other women's boxer this year, especially up within the championship weights. She's had 3 title fights, winning a vacant title back in February, unifying that I believe was in September, and then going again in November to unify further again and also win the Ring Magazine title with only 1 belt left to collect in order to become undisputed at 154 pounds. That in itself, on most other years, would be number 1 status. The only reason why I don't give it to Natasha to be higher up on the list, which is it's a bit hard for me personally because everyone knows how much I like Tash, but it's simply down to quality of opponents. Once you start going above 140 pounds, the depth of talent becomes a lot less stacked and competitive, sort of than 140 and below. And while you've really got some amazing females in those higher weight divisions, it's a lot more filler than filling in terms of the rest of the bunch. So that is kind of the reason why Natasha is towards the bottom of the top 5. However, she's in the top 5, whereas there's a lot of other very credible women this year who did some good things who haven't made it into the list at all. So I hope she don't hate me after that. But yeah, with all of that being said, she's had an amazing year. I'm hoping that she will eventually do the undisputed fight for 2023, but if she doesn't, she can look back at this year and be incredibly proud. But yeah, it's just the only reason she's down low is just some of the competition just isn't as good. As her best win this year wasn't as impressive as the best win for the others when you look through it, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, number 5 for female fighter of the year 2022 goes to Natasha Jonas. Right, my number 4 female fighter of the year for 2022, that goes to Chantel Cameron. Now the reason for this, and I know you could probably think about switching Chantel and Natasha around in terms of 4 and 5, but if you look at the quality of opponent, while you might say that Jessica McCaskill is not that attractive on the eye, she's not particularly elegant in anything she does, her boxing skills are extremely limited to a degree, she's very effective and she has been throughout her entire career. That is what enabled her to become a unified champion at 140 before moving up in divisions to go and become the undisputed champion at 147, beat the reigning champion once, defend against them in a rematch, and then to a lesser extent knocked out of the opponent after that, got in the ring with a second to last opponent who basically quit on the stool, talking about she doesn't want to, she wants to go home, she doesn't want to die, she wants to see her kids, blah blah blah. Now however that transpired, I don't know, but all of that did not matter when she got in the ring with Chantel Cameron, who made her look even more cumbersome, crude and unsightly than she normally does. She pretty much bossed that fight, and in doing so was able to capture the undisputed title at 140. So even though 2 of those titles were vacant, again she was fighting the undisputed champion from the weight class above for the undisputed at the weight class below, and was able to not only succeed, but, you know, again, she bested her. Really and truly, both sets of undisputed should have been on the line, just because you was underneath the weight category for both. You could have put all of them on the line, but Jessica didn't want to do that because she knew it was a big risk to you know, to have that and then have Chantel being undisputed in 2 separate weight classes. But yeah, while the quality of opposition wasn't as good, I guess, in terms of Marie-Eve Dicaire for Natasha Jonas, what that champion had and who she's beaten and what she's accomplished was a much better win for Chantel. So that's the only reason why she got the number 4 spot. But yeah, number 4 female fighter of the year for 2022 goes to Chantel Cameron. Right, in 3rd place, my number 3 female fighter of the year for 2022 goes to Clarissa Shields. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, hold on, she was your performance of the year for 2022, so why would she not be the fighter of the year as well? Well, again, if we're going to look at it and grade it on a scale, what Clarissa Shields did with the Savannah Marshall fight was a tremendous effort. Again, my scoring of the fight was different to some others, but there's no complaints about who won the fight and sort of how it was. Normally, there's a lot of times where I will say to people, a fight isn't close, it's just competitive. Whereas on this particular occasion, I think close as in, to me, if either person was given a decision, there would have been no arguments. However, the reason that she was the performance of the year was clearly because she just, you know, she beat Savannah at her own game, stuck close to her, was in the pocket, didn't back off, just stayed with her, outlanded at times, you know, outgutted at times, and that was just what happened there. But when you look at the actual wins on paper, I mean, the Femke Herman's win for Savannah has now looks a lot better after what Femke did to Mary Spencer, who was quote unquote kind of a boogie woman of the 154 division. But there's not a huge amount there on her resume. We've all known that, as much as she's got the skills, the technique and the stopping power. So when you look at it in terms of, okay, well, what has everyone done? Like Savannah was still, remember, she fought for a vacant title, defended it a couple times, but it was the only title she's ever won, whereas Clarissa had 13 titles, sorry, prior to that. And yeah, so you have to look at it in terms of the level. So while it was a great performance, it only comes in at number 3 for fighter of the year, just because there's people above that maybe did stuff that achieved slightly more. But yeah, also the way she entered the ring was noteworthy. You know, she came in dancing. She came in the Rolls Royce, you know, in the gown. She just proper, you know, drew to the occasion, and, you know, made herself a known commodity. I mean, you know, she came into the arena with the crowd booing and left with the crowd cheering. So whenever something like that happens, you've got to be a major consideration. But yeah, just it's number 3 for me, the female fighter of the year. Okay, so my number 2 female fighter of the year for 2022 goes to Katie Taylor. Now, again, you could say, well, why would Katie Taylor be the fighter of the year if she had a much closer and much harder fight against Amanda Serrano than perceived Clarissa Shields had with Savannah Marshall? Well, again, if we're going to go to what I've been saying, I have to look at quality of competition. Now, a lot of people will say Amanda Serrano came up 2 weight divisions, so Clarissa had the size advantage. Now, yes, Amanda has been competing at 126, but the fight prior to this one, she was fighting at 135. So she was in the exact same weight class. She's actually a little bit taller and has a slightly longer range than Katie Taylor as well. So the overall size issue is fairly innocuous, and she has a much higher KO ratio, which tells you that pound for pound she probably hits a lot harder. So there wasn't as many disadvantages as people would perceive. That not being the case though, she was a 7 division world champion. Her highest weight division was 140 pounds, and she's won belts at 135 before, 130, 126, 118, 122, and I think she she didn't go down to 115. No, I think she did. I think she had one super fly as well. I had to double check that. But either way, it's 7 weight divisions. So when it comes to winning a fight, she was much more of an accomplished opponent to beat, which Katie Taylor done. Not only that, I truly believe that Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano putting on that event at Madison Square Garden was the reason for a lot of the other big significant events that happened in female boxing or boxing with the women this year. I don't think that there would have been an all women's card at the O2 if that event wasn't as big a success as it was. I don't think there would have been as many unifications and as many undisputeds this year if that wasn't the case. Like, that event drew eyes to the sport of women's boxing, and Katie Taylor heralded that to the point where Bob Arum was online saying that no one cares about women's boxing in, I think, February, to them flying over to the O2 to promote, Alicia Baumgardner versus Michaela Mayer for the all women's card. Clearly saw that there's now a value in this market. So there's that. Plus also, she's the only woman on this list that's actually headlined 2 fights this year. She headlined that one, and then she headlined the fight against Karen Karabahal in November as well. So, no, sorry, I think that was October. But yeah, all that is the reason why I've got Katie at number 2. That's almost enough to be number 1, but there isn't. That she's not number 1. There is a number 1, and I'll tell you who that one is right now. And we're here. So, my number 1 female fighter of the year for 2022 goes to Alicia Baumgardner. Now, before you start thinking that I'm being biased or anything like that, no bias here. Let me break it down as to why I feel she's been the fighter of the year this year. If you look at social metrics, if you look at, I guess, an overall trend in visibility and popularity, I don't think anyone has capitalized more on a upset victory than Alicia has, and that was obviously against Terry Harper last year. Now this year she's been out twice in the ring, but the first was a standard defense of a title, dominated, won it 10 rounds to 0. Wasn't her greatest performance, but it was also done on, I think, like 2 weeks notice to just add her to a card. So then you get to the big fight, the biggest fight of the year. Now, the reason I have her at number 1 is because she done something comprehensively that no one else on this list has done. She was firmly the B-side throughout everything in her fight with Michaela Mayer. It was on Sky Sports and Boxer. It was co-promoted by Top Rank and ESPN in America. There was absolutely no Matchroom or DAZN backing or promotion. It was not in association with Matchroom and DAZN or anything like that. I think Frank Smith was able to go as support, but he wasn't, he wasn't on the head table with Alicia when they was doing the press conferences. He wasn't, in the corner with taking pictures with her when they're doing the face-offs or anything like that, and the weigh-ins. Like, there was no Matchroom involvement. Alicia Baumgardner was the only fighter on that entire quartet in the 2 co-main events that didn't have any had no backing within the card, and still managed to come away with the victory. Now, a split decision tells you normally that a fight is incredibly close, or one judge sees it one way, the other see it another. But to have absolutely no favor at all, be the away fighter, the most away fighter in terms of any sort of favorable judging decisions or influence, not to mention, being not necessarily being the crowd's favorite within the fight also. All of this, and you still managed to pull off the victory. So if 2 judges were able to see you do the better work throughout the fight, that tells you that you've clearly won this fight, because you had no consideration to be anything other than a willing participant. And with Michaela Mayer she was the Ring Magazine, she was the WBO and the IBF champion, at least obviously being WBC and the IBO, but Michaela was, for lack of a better term, she was the house fighter, and Alicia comprehensively beat her. So for that fact, to be, again, the only true away fighter on the list and get a decision tells you that you had to have performed above and beyond expectation and above and beyond, you know, the levels you would normally have to compete at just to get the decision. And that's what Alicia Baumgardner did. Not only that, as I said, she's probably raised her profile more than any other woman on this list within the last year. And part of the game is obviously putting yourself out there and being accessible and, you know, building a brand for yourself, not to mention the modeling and stuff she does outside of the ring anyway. But with all of these ventures, with all of that, that's my reason for Alicia Baumgardner being my #1 female fighter of the year for 2022. Now, feel free, jump in the comments, give me your list. I know some of you probably will disagree with me. Tell me why you disagree, and yeah, I'll get in touch. But again, congratulations to Alicia, #1 female fighter of the year for 2022.